vRealize Operations Cloud introduces new integrations with application performance monitoring tools, such as New Relic, Datadog, Dynatrace, and AppDynamics. And in this demonstration, we'll walk you through one of those integrations to show you why this is really powerful. So the scenario here is that our internal e-travel site, the site that our whole company uses to book their travel, is running a bit slower than expected. And so naturally, the application team is going to come to the infrastructure team first and say, there's something wrong with the infrastructure, our site's running slow. Now, normally there would be a lot of back and forth between the infrastructure team and the application team, but I'm going to show you how this integration can be used to quickly pinpoint and get the teams back on the right track. Now, each integration comes with its own dashboards, and depending upon which one you use, you would enable the dashboards for that. So for example, here we have AppDynamics, Datadog, Dynatrace, and New Relic all enabled in this environment. But for this demonstration, we're going to take a look at the Dynatrace application troubleshooting dashboard. Now with this dashboard, we can select an application and then view all its components and the KPIs associated with that. So here I'm going to run a quick search for my Easy Travel web application, which is being monitored by Dynatrace. And then vRealize Operations is collecting that data from Dynatrace. Now by selecting the Easy Travel web application, I have this great relationship widget here where I can see the application and all of its components right within this one view. And depending upon what object is selected in the object relationship widget, we'll see KPIs here for that selected object. So in this case, I have the web application selected, and I can get things like the total load time for various web browsers. And then at the bottom here, I have access to all the metrics that Dynatrace is collecting for this application and being pulled in by vRealize Operations. So in this case, I can look at my speed index for Chrome, and speed index is a measure of how quickly the page loads for a user. So obviously the lower the value, the better. And here we have a 250 millisecond speed index. So we've already corroborated what we're hearing from the application team. So let's poke around at this a little bit more, and we'll take a look at the front end service. And by clicking on the service, the KPI scoreboard updates with important information about this service. So over here, we can see the CPU time is at 967,000 microseconds, or just shy of a full second. Now this metric is coming directly from Dynatrace, and that's why we're not seeing it in percentage or megahertz or gigahertz like we're used to seeing. Instead, this is showing us the amount of time that the CPU spent processing instructions for this service. Now this service is made up of even more services that Dynatrace has discovered. So for example, our journey service. Now this is the service that does all the heavy lifting and figures out the logistics. When you say, I want to fly from Pig's Knuckle to Aruba, it will pick the most efficient and quickest route for you, as well as the cheapest carrier, which is good for your business. It's doing a lot of work. So much that it's accounting for almost 95% of that CPU metric that we saw before. Now we can expand this even further to take a look at the database that serves our journey service. So by clicking on this, we get a new set of KPIs, and we can see that there are only 13 requests for this database. Now that seems pretty low compared to what we were seeing for the CPU, so this could mean that there's an issue with the database or an issue with the query or maybe even a hung job. So this may be our potential culprit. But let's take things a step further and just do our diligence and take a look at the infrastructure. Now in this dashboard, we'll just see the Dynatrace objects, and I can trace this all the way down to the host that is serving up these services. Now to step into the world of vSphere and infrastructure, we need to open up the details of this host so we can view the relationships from this host all the way back to the physical server that it lives on. And if we go into the metrics, we can see all of these related objects as well and expand things out to be able to view the metrics associated with the selected object. So here we have our Dynatrace host, and on the left are the various processes and the services that they serve. And I can expand this out even further, and I can see the actual applications. Now let's take a step into the vSphere world and look at the virtual machine, which is serving everything up. So if I select this virtual machine, I can go into the metrics and I can see how the CPU is performing. So if I look at the CPU demand percentage, I can see that we're only really hitting about 50% of our total CPU capacity. And the high watermark here is displayed as 64.95%, so there's still enough room despite this being a pretty spiky process. Now we could do some further troubleshooting by leveraging metric correlation, which will find other metrics matching the same pattern as this one across all other metrics for this object or related objects. We could also leverage the troubleshooting workbench, which will point out anomalies and any changes in our environment that may point us to a root cause. However, we're pretty certain we've found the issue here. But let's just take things a step further, and I want to show you the relationship from the Dynatrace application all the way to the full vSphere infrastructure. So we can expand the Dynatrace host and view all the processes and the services and the applications. I can expand out the ESXi host that this VM is running on and view the vSphere cluster. So just from this single view, I can look at the application all the way to the infrastructure level and view the metrics for each of the objects within here. Now that's pretty powerful because that can really cut down on a lot of the back and forth between the application and the infrastructure teams, because I don't have to learn another tool and I can view everything all within one place.